Good morning and welcome to Today in L.A. I'm Mike Amos, with me Forrest Lee, and ladies and gentlemen, it is a cold Wednesday.
But I like it cold sometimes.
You do?
Yeah, my windshield was frozen just a little bit this morning. It didn't take long for it to defrost, just a touch. And but congratulations to Devontae Smith.
That's right.
Our Heisman winner from
Trophy,
Alabama.
And, everybody told me that, why are you even questioning, I wasn't questioning at all him winning. I was just wondering how everybody knew so soon,
Well, I was just scared it was going to split. That I was hoping he or Jones would win it, but all of them had a great year. And who knows what would have happened if COVID would have not have taken place, because Fields would have been in the mix. Trevor Lawrence probably would have missed games, and it'd been a sure enough rock-on world.
For laying underneath my desk to pick up a pen, but that's the way it works here on a laid-back Wednesday afternoon in Troy, Alabama. Of course, we're looking forward to the big game coming up. Right now it's scheduled for Monday night, but again, we don't know for sure exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah,
that's what's so scary about this. Anytime you're dealing with this, after you get a certain amount of people with the virus, that they have to shut you down.
Right. I believe the Big Ten rule is they got to be out 17 days. So if they tested positive after December the 25th, they've got to miss this game.
Yeah.
So, and if they have to do the makeup, it will be the following week on January the 18th. But, well, if, the way I look at it, if it has to be delayed, it's got to be delayed, and it gives Waddle.
Laid back this is, ladies and gentlemen, late again is Bill Rice Jr.
Oh, are we live?
Yeah, we're live.
We're live.
I didn't know I was late.
Hey, my neighbor stopped me the other day. She said, Forrest, who is that guy with you and Mike that has bangs? I said, that would be Bill Rice Jr.
Oh, gosh.
Happy birthday, Jack.
Well, he remembered.
Good looking coat, man.
I know. I wonder where I got this coat. Yeah. It's my favorite.
Well, he's the son of the legendary Bill Rice Sr. and Marcia Rice, of course, the great artist and great friend of mine.
Thank you for saying that,
What's
Mike.
her maiden name? Your mother's maiden name?
Marcia Chapman Rice.
Yeah,
Chapman.
She was one of the Chapmans. She was one of the Chapmans, too. Isn't that right?
Well, yeah. There were...
of Hillcrest.
I think there were Hickey, Dan, Corley, and Bill Chapman, and one sister. There were 5 Chapmans. And they were all raised by a single mother. Their father had died when they were real little on Walnut Street here in Troy.
Uh-huh. There's a big, huge family in Troy history.
They moved from Birmingham, I understand, after grandfather Chapman, great-grandfather Chapman passed away. But Walnut Street, everybody is restoring houses on that street.
It's beautiful. It really is. There's no question about it. Good morning. You're on Today in L.A. How you doing?
I'll tell you what, man. The state of Georgia needs to count Atlanta and all their votes before they count any other counties throughout the state. Because I went to bed again last night, and both of the Republicans were leading.
Big.
And then I wake up again, and they're both losing.
Well, when I went to bed after 12 o'clock, and the Republicans were winning one race and losing the other race.
Me too.
How did it happen? Did Purdue get beat?
He's going to get beat.
Well, that means both of them will lose, and the Democrats will have control.
That means everybody start looking to move to Argentina,
oh gosh,
Belize, or Canada.
It can't be that bad, can it?
Probably not. Probably not.
But of course, it is. Is it a done deal that Purdue has been beaten? Now, when I did go to bed last night after 12 o'clock, he was still holding on to about 1,000 vote lead.
Me too.
He's losing now, and it'll be just like the presidential race. They'll find about another 10,000 votes.
All the outstanding votes were, what's that county? The Decatur or DeKalb?
Yeah, that's what
DeKalb and Cobb is huge Democratic.
So it was, they were all, both of the Republicans were winning big. Purdue was winning by 115,000 votes by 3 percentage points. And then this one tranche of votes comes in from DeKalb County.
It's like
And
everybody
it's like
voted.
there were 170,000 uncounted votes, and they all went 83% for the Democrat. And in one fell swoop, the Republicans who all had big leads were behind, and one of the Republicans was behind big. So
What
yeah,
does this
it's
do?
same old as last time.
Biden, this means that Biden's will run into no rejections on what he wants to do. Is that right?
Well, I can't remember a time where you've had a 50-50 split in the Senate. It'll be actually technically be tied, 50 Republicans, 50 Democrats.
But the vice president gets
Breaks
the other
the
vote.
tie, so
doesn't
the
it?
vice president is going to have to stay in Washington D.C. and be voting all the time to break those ties. So it's the thinnest of majorities, but the key thing is the Democrats will get to appoint all the chairmen of the committees, and they'll control what comes to the floor, what legislation gets voted on. So it's a slim margin, so they won't be able to do as much as they would want to, but they still have all the power positions. So the Democrats have the House by a slim margin, the Senate by the slimmest of margin, and the White House by the slimmest of margins. But the Democrats control all three branches of government.
So if you're going to be
They
president,
better hope that West Virginia senator, who's Saban's best friend, will cross party lines every once in a while.
Oh, does they say that he's a Democrat that leans kind of conservative?
Yeah, what's his name? Meacham?
Ooh, that'd be huge. You remember? That could
seems
happen.
like you could pay these guys off.
Don't you think some of them are being?
When it's all said and done, though, I mean, it really is amazing, though, what has happened in the state of Georgia. I mean, a strong Republican
Who would have ever thought it?
state
You're
for
right.
years and years and years.
I know it's next door to Alabama, which goes landslide for Trump and Republicans, and then right next door, it's now a blue state.
The real remarkable thing of them all was how did they get so many people out to vote? I mean, they must have had to have gone and almost walked.
Well, they
hand
don't
in
have
with
to
them.
go out to vote now.
It's a mail-in ballot.
So
Jack.
they can go in and get them and
They take them the ballots, or they get them the ballots, and
You don't have to have a stamp. They put it back in the mailbox when you're done.
it was a game changer when they went to this mail-in ballots all across the country. I don't think people fully understood what was the smart people had figured out.
they could go to the nursing homes and to the projects or wherever and walk up and say, "Will you sign this?" Is that right?
I mean, there's no way to know,
Yeah.
and they just flooding in.
Well, I tell you
And
what.
now, since they're in charge, they're not going to change the laws to do away with these mail-in ballots. They're going to make them even more prevalent. Yeah, very, very interesting times we're living
No
in.
question
I mean,
about it.
after COVID, hopefully in the next 4 years, maybe all this will change. You would hope,
Yeah.
and that wouldn't be something you can begin the mail-in
Well,
ballots. Or
I think the Republicans are going to have to sit down and decide what they're going to do, because right now they're in shambles.
And
It's
the
pretty
the Republicans, they get their own criticism. Have you ever heard the expression rhino? You know what a rhino is?
Yeah, animal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's an acronym. It stands for Republican in name only. So
Yeah.
a lot of these so-called conservative Republicans, I don't think they're really true believers of the limited government message. And so they're getting a little of what they sowed.
Well, I'm an American, and I want us to. I hope our Congress and Senate and everything will do the right thing as far as being an American, and democracy will hold up.
Me too, Mike. Me too.
No question about it. And of course,
I just hope Alabama gets to play a national championship game on Monday. There's a lot of leaks. out
that's a
there.
lot more important, isn't it?
And a lot of people saying that there's going to be a COVID situation with Ohio State, and the game's going to be pushed back a week.
I was listening to
of course, a lot of Alabama fans are now saying, "Oh, well, it's just a reason because Justin Fields has broken ribs, and they'll give him a week to heal."
Yeah, but you know who else it gives a week to heal? And that's what Forrest Lee was telling me this morning. That's going to give number 17 a week more to heal too. And I don't know which one would be the worst.
I just want to play it.
I mean, I think Ohio State is dropping the ball tremendously. There's going to be so much controversy. Here's a program that, you know, they bailed out. You know, the Big Ten didn't even want to have a season. And they thought everybody else was going to go with them. And,
That's right.
You know, Pac-12 bailed out with them, but then ACC, SEC, Big 12 stayed strong. And these guys have played only 7 games, almost played 12 games. And then they're wanting another week, you know, because of COVID. This is on them. This is on their program.
You know what?
How's Alabama staying healthy?
Yeah. Here's what happened. You just touched on it. They wanted to bail. The presidents, their commissioners, etc., they did bail. And then they came back. But they came back with that little caveat. Y'all remember we talked about it. Yeah, we're going to let you play, but we're going to have these big-time stringent protocols, these contact tracing protocols. So if you got the virus, you've got to sit out. I think y'all were talking about it 10 days. But the important one is if you came in contact with someone who was positive, they had to sit out 21 days. I mean, you think about that, that's a month. And these are people that aren't even sick. I mean, they've come in contact with an asymptomatic player. The player that tested positive probably wasn't even sick. And so that's why you have all these cancellations. And if they did later change it to 17 days, but if they follow their protocols, you're right. If they have a few players, you know, 2 positives can affect 15 players on the team.
It's at a position group, so.
Yeah, one position. It would go through a whole position group. And then did y'all hear what Nick Saban's daughter tweeted?
Yes.
Well,
She's crazy.
Oh, man. She just was goading them and saying exactly what we just said, but she was saying it on social media that Ohio State's afraid to play Alabama. They're doing it just to protect their quarterback. Alabama could have done this when Waddle got hurt and didn't. And just huge bulletin board material.
She's always been opinionated on Twitter and social media, though. Like, I mean, she doesn't have a filter. She says whatever on her mind.
Well, she reminds me of Michael Amos then.
I'll say that. If Nick Saban, if I'm the daughter of Nick Saban, you got to be a little bit, please, kind of more careful about what you put out there.
No, I think.
Give Ohio State any extra motivation.
Well, she just did it, and then I think I heard that she later apologized. You know, Mom and Dad must have heard about what she did, but too late.
Well, there's a blue light sale going on out at.
Had to go to court because she beat up one of her sorority sisters.
Yeah, I remember that.
How about this, ladies and gentlemen? Over 140 cars to choose from just on the lot, ladies and gentlemen. And, of course, the big blue light sale going on right now at Premier Dodge Chrysler Jeep and Ram Trucks. I've never seen anybody that has ever come to Troy, Alabama with with this kind of marketing tool that they use the messenger for every week. And of course he just got tremendous sales going on. It's called the Blue Light Special Sale out at Premier Dodge Chrysler Jeep. So if you're looking for a brand new
read out some of the prices.
Well, I mean, the prices start at $69,995 and it goes all the way to $59,999.
I see a lot for 12, 11, 12, 10,000, 9,000. Very affordable.
And a great way to start the new year. And of course, with the folks that are getting checks, the car market is going to be enhanced tremendously, don't you think?
Well, I will say one thing about this presidential election is that there was big talk about the stimulus being $2,000 per person instead of $600
Yeah, that's
per.
right. Now you got a raise, didn't you?
Yeah. So what am I complaining about? Yes,
I mean,
Biden said he's going to fix. He said it's a down payment. We're going to fix that, and he gets sworn in on January 20th, and you'll have this Democratic-controlled Senate that can't block it. So, yeah, I'm going to have some more money to
Well,
buy a car.
Trump wanted the extension too, didn't he?
Yeah, Trump was for it too.
And right now,
the breaking news at Troy University yesterday, Troy has lost their offensive coordinator, Ryan Pugh. He is headed to Baylor to be reunited with J.B. Grimes, the former offensive coordinator at BYU. They worked together at BYU. Now Grimes got the offensive coordinator job at Baylor. So Troy's got to find an offensive line coach. Of course, Chip Lindsey called the play, so the coordinator position, I guess, is open technically as well. It's going to be interesting to see what they decide there. They need to find an offensive line coach that can teach run blocking, because Troy was horrible running the ball this year.
yeah.
Well, Alabama has about 3 assistants that may go to Texas with Sarkisian. A.J. Milwee, who's already left and took the offensive coordinator job at Arkansas, his name has come up to go to Texas. The offensive line coach at Alabama, Kyle Flood, who used to be the head coach at Rutgers, his name's surfacing. And Jeff Banks, the special teams coordinator at Alabama, those names are rumored to be heading to Texas with Sarkisian.
And these are tremendous job opportunities too.
These are great recruiters too.
Yeah, exactly. That's the key. I saw a show last night strictly on recruiting. It's amazing how there's a football season, then there's a recruiting season, and they have 2 recruiting seasons now. And it's going to be really something the way these recruiting boards are.
I mean, with Chip Lindsey, though, right now, if you hire an offensive coordinator, that guy coming in is taking a huge risk taking that job, because you don't know what's going to happen with Troy's program after next year.
And we know that Lindsey was calling the plays. I don't think.
No, I'm just saying that the title of offensive coordinator is good for any Division I assistant.
Exactly.
It's a matter of who they could bring in that is concerned about job stability. How long are you going to be there?
Well, everything remains to be seen, and of course, Alabama's trying to get ready for this bowl game, and I don't know how much.
Do y'all think
if you had just taken the Texas job, wouldn't the Texas job come first right now?
a good thing though for Alabama though is that they have this early recruiting signing period. Normally,
That's
when
right.
these coaches take this job, they're hit the road recruiting the minute after they were hired. And I think if Texas is the same as most programs, their class is pretty much filled up. And so he won't have to be recruiting.
Yeah, one of the best receivers at Oklahoma is opting out. He's entering the transfer portal. I forgot what his name is, but there's folks entering the transfer
It's one of the greatest things ever. His last name's Rambo.
Yeah. And,
Rambo's leaving, but he's going pro. Is that right?
So he's
Yeah,
tra-
he's going to transfer in college. I guarantee he might be looking at Alabama. He might be looking at Florida.
maybe looking at Texas. Hey, but since we're talking about linemen earlier, Carson Jones from Brantley was named the 1A Lineman of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
So congratulations to Carson Jones.
State 1A, is that right? 1A.
1A Lineman of the Year, and he's the only one locally.
How big of a kid is Carson?
I have no idea. I don't know if he's a senior. I think he might be a senior, but also the Troy signee, Peyton Higgins, was back of the year was at 2A from Mars Hill. He was the player of the year as an offensive back.
That's right.
So,
Troy, on paper, looks real good as far as the people they signed and so forth. And but the problem is this open market. Is they can go anywhere they want to now, I would think.
No, it's a new game.
Did y'all watch the Heisman ceremony last night?
Yeah, I
I
did.
did.
Can y'all figure out why in the world they didn't interview Mac Jones' family? They interviewed everybody else.
Yeah.
I know. I got that.
Well, and the Florida quarterback, I didn't see him interviewed at all. Was he interviewed?
They interviewed him forever. They interviewed him and Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
And Mac Jones'
Well, see, I
family was
missed
there.
that
They
part.
didn't interview him. It was really sad to me. I didn't understand that.
Yeah.
They're real articulate. I've heard them interviewed before. Maybe they just didn't have audio set up or technical difficulties. I don't know, but
He wins the of course Smith wins the Heisman, but as far as the NFL draft, right now it looks like the Clemson quarterback's going to probably be the first one picked. What do you think?
Could be.
Man, they've been saying that since he was in.
They say they're after Urban Meyer heavily. Jacksonville's
But
going
I think
after
he
Urban.
lost a little bit of his stock in that game. He looked. He made some mistakes in that game. In fact, Clemson, they said the first 10 plays on the defensive side, Clemson lined up out of position. The Venable, this great Venable, is supposed to be the great. They said that his defense was not even even lined up correctly, and they scored 2 quick touchdowns.
Yeah, that long run that great running back for Ohio State had, that they were still moving before the ball was
down in the stands.
Yeah, it's kind of like I've seen Alabama do that several times too.
So Venable might have had one of his worst days in his career, trying to coach the Clemson defense. Clemson was not a dominating force on either side of the ball as far as the Clemson teams 3 or 4 years ago were knocked down, dragged down defenses, but hey, not this one.
When they beat Alabama so bad 2 years ago, they had one of the best defensive lines in college football history. I think 3 of those 4 guys, maybe all 4 of those guys were first round picks eventually.
No question about it. Mike Amos along with Bill Ryan.
Came back, that was the difference. All those guys could have gone pro and decided to come back and won a national championship.
The Messenger, of course, the free Messenger is out every Wednesday, and our mayor, Jason Reeves, has a few things to say about COVID-19 on the headlines, and it's like he says, he doesn't see it leveling off anytime soon. So folks are getting anxious about getting their shot. Mike, what's the deal in Florida as far as getting your shot, Mike?
DeSantis has come out and said they're going to start giving them to the public, 65 and older, next week. So.
Well, don't you know that's going to be a long line? That'll be a long line of people down there,
Gosh,
you're dealing with so many snowbirds too that aren't Florida residents. If you own property in Florida, which I know a lot of people from Troy do. You ought to be able to get a vaccine shot in Florida, I would think.
I would hope so. Yeah.
So I don't know how it's all going to work. I read an article a little while ago where they said starting soon they're hoping to give 1 million doses a day. So who knows?
Well, we need to sure get going. I'll tell you this: it's bad to waited so long to get the shot, and now we're running into I don't know if you call it politics or just poor organization or something, but something's got to give, and we got to get this ball rolling.
Why don't we do mail-in vaccines like mail-in ballots?
I don't know. Of course, we want to take a look at what's going on at Troy. Troy University starts classes today. I believe that's the deal. And
I think that's correct.
So I would call it. Would you call it the winter semester or the spring semester? What would y'all call it?
I think they call it spring.
Yeah, the spring semester. And of course, it's good to have the students back. You can tell the big difference at Walmart. I didn't even think. I went out there to do something, and I said, "Man, I'll go back later because it was crowded. Man, it was really crowded." But it's good to see the students back spending money in Troy, Alabama, and of course, on a sad note, we lost Glenda Locklear, and Rice and Forrest Lee was saying something, and it was probably the best way in the world to celebrate the life of Glenda Locklear was how many people she helped at Troy University.
There's no telling. When I was a physical education student at Troy University, I think she worked in that office for about 37 or 38 years for the Department of Physical Education, Health, and Kinesiology. And if you walk in, take a left, and there she was, just as pretty as you want to see, and just as nice and sweet and helpful. And when I was in college, Dr. Hanson and Dr. Jeffrey and Pat Allison and Kathy Flynn and others, John Archer was there, but Miss Glenda was so helpful, and She was a member of Henderson Methodist Church for 61 years, and I really got to know her then because when Jody and I moved back, our charge at Goshen, we have the Goshen, Little Oak, and Henderson Methodist Church. And so the choir rotates to those churches when we sing. And of course, her and Mr. Wiley, were active members, in that church and community for years and years.
Wiley, her husband, his father owned that store in downtown Henderson.
Right.
To get to Henderson, all you do is take either a left at Jabs or a right at Jabs.
Yeah, when his brother
and you go until the street or the road stops dead in downtown Henderson, and great family there, the Locklear family. I'll tell you one thing: when Glenda wasn't involved with her work at Troy University, and like you said, she knew all the students and they knew her and loved her, but when it came to golf, you had Fan Ashworth, who was a fabulous golfer, Glenda Locklear, and then the legendary Gracie Sowers. Those were three great women golfers, and they went at it. And I think Glenda was the club champion at Troy for several years.
Isn't her son Eric real good? And he works in the golf business.
That's right. He's out in Las Vegas, and one of the finest young men. And I hope he's watching our show this morning that you'll find anywhere. And of course, Wiley, our prayers and thoughts go out to you.
And Missy is my classmate, class of '83, their daughter, and Missy's a beautiful young lady, and Missy has a daughter that just looks like a model.
Yeah.
She's beautiful.
In downtown Henderson, there were three great men, and I'll tell you who those great men were. There were more than three, I promise you. But you had, and they all lived right there together. You had Wiley Locklear, Ben Beard, and Bob Booth living side by side in downtown Henderson.
Wow.
Well, Rex was down there too.
All three of those guys are legends, either legends.
Yeah, they are.
And of course, Ben, very successful businessman, and one of the top walking horse trainers or owners in the country. Had a seat in Shelbyville. And then, of course, Wiley Locklear, born and raised in downtown Henderson, and his family had the wiregrass, the great
his brother Rex.
He ran that wonderful
Bluegrass
festival for years and years. Y'all were talking yesterday that you didn't know that much about the Bluegrass Festival, but people that lived elsewhere flocked to Troy and Pike County. They didn't come to Troy. They went and they set up camp in Henderson.
That's right.
And people in Troy didn't even know it was going on half the time.
Yeah.
But as far as bluegrass goes, it was one of the top venues for bluegrass music in the country in downtown Henderson. Of course, the Locklears were right in the middle of it.
That old schoolhouse down there was getting dilapidated,
right.
and Mr. Wiley has fixed it up. It's still he fixed it up to a nice building where they can get on that porch and still play, and I believe they still do. I don't know when it's coming.
Of course, the legendary Bob Booth,
twice a year.
He's a legend in his mind and in a lot of other people's mind. The great Goshen coach. How good was Bob Booth as a Goshen football coach?
He also coached Pike County High School.
I know it. I was going to, but
I thought he was trying to be a movie star. Didn't he?
Well, he did, and they gave him a name and everything. He went out west back in the early, late 50s, early 60s. His name was Johnny Starr. And Bob Booth, of course, one of my dear friends, was a movie star at one time. And I remember we were over at his house after a football game.
I saw where Melinda Booth was out west skiing in Colorado and broke her leg.
Oh boy, that could sure happen, no question about it.
Mm-hmm.
But Bob Booth, of course, later on went on and was the head coach at Goshen and was the head coach at Pike County High School, head coach at Lee Scott.
He coached my father-in-law, Frank Fryer. They had some really good teams that
really did.
Yeah.
From Randy Walls to Frankie Fryer, is that right?
You're darn right.
And of course, Frankie Fryer was an outstanding receiver at Pike County High School. But those three guys have definitely created some noise in Pike County throughout the decades, and from Ben Beard to Wiley Locklear to Bob Booth, and they were great people, great men. What?
Well water that makes them great.
It must be, but they're all great
Glenwood.
people, and of course they had a great family and great lineage, and
Is Henderson in Pike County or is that
it's in Pike County.
Pike County.
Henderson's in Pike County, and
I guess it's named for the
Is Glenwood and Henderson like right next to each
now
other?
Glenwood is in
Crenshaw.
Crenshaw County now.
They're close.
Yeah.
That's the best way to go to the chicken shack.
And a lot of great people came out of Glenwood, Alabama, too. No question about it. We were talking yesterday about different things, and of course this virus has affected so many people in so many ways. I don't know if you'll find anybody that it hasn't touched in some way, and hopefully this with getting the shot now that hopefully can save us from this.
Well, I think we got the shot, the vaccine's coming, and then this cold and flu season. I think this virus is seasonal. It just makes common sense that in the same season you have colds and flus, that the coronavirus is more lethal, literally. And so the warm weather's coming. That'll help us.
One of our prayers and thoughts go out to my next door neighbor. He was having some problems, and he went to Birmingham, and they were out of beds at the time in Birmingham.
Wow.
They finally got a situation where now everything is going good and so forth. But that's how bad it was. UAB running out of room in their hospital. So,
Well, it's the big city hospitals. They get patients from all over the state. I mean,
yeah.
we know people from Troy and Montgomery that used to live in Troy that are in Montgomery and Birmingham hospitals. So, I mean, they're drawing from. So I can see that the hospitals in Birmingham, Huntsville, Mobile, Montgomery would be, a lot fuller than maybe the small town hospitals.
Well, let me tell you this. One of the finest women in Pike County, I'm not going to mention her name, but most of you folks will know it, is right now going through a lot of treatments in Montgomery, and hopefully she's going to be back with us soon. And but what a wonderful, wonderful person she is, and so many people that we know very well from right here in Pike County have either tested as negative or positive, but tested positive for the.
And are having very severe cases.
That's right. And some people, it seems like some people it affects more than others, but it's really.
I'm thinking you and Mom might need to go to PCB for about 6 months. We'll do today. Today in LA.
Well, people think, they say, well, Troy and Pike County has got a lot of cases. Well, I'm sure if you looked around, there's a lot of, this is about the same everywhere,
I think it is. It's
And
hitting
of
hard.
course, we usually have that list this morning. We'll go over that later on today. Out of Johns Hopkins University.
Basketball last night. Alabama's red hot. Beat Florida last night. They'd only lost one game by 15 at home. So, tell you what, they got a really good team if nobody's watched them.
What, Alabama's men?
Yes.
Yeah, but
Florida last night by 15. They're 8-3 now. They just beat number 7 Tennessee. Nate Oates has got some really great athletic wing guys, and got a big transfer from Yale down low. Got a transfer guard in from Villanova that didn't play last night. That had been averaging like 16, 17 a game the last 3 games. So
Evidently they can shoot the three. Is that right? How many threes did they have last night?
I don't know, but they average over 80 a game. But they were just going to the paint last night, dominating inside the paint.
Michael, is Tuscaloosa or the Southeastern Conference allowing anybody in the arenas for basketball?
Yeah. They allow like 1,500 fans a game.
1,500.
Well, do we know anything about this weekend? Troy's got 2 huge games this weekend, one on Friday and one on Saturday against Georgia State.
Yes, sir.
That's always a huge rivalry.
go ahead and say those times so everybody can.
And in fact, Friday, the January the the 8th at 6 p.m., and then Saturday, January the 9th at 4 p.m. So the Saturday game is going to be an afternoon game starting at 4 o'clock, and then the Friday game will be a 6 p.m. game at night. So tickets are available through Troy University's ticket office.
I'm not a big fan of just playing the Eastern Division. I don't like the way they're doing this. I mean, why can't you play everybody in your conference?
I know it. They're not going to do that.
Probably doing it for
two games
saving money.
Division every single weekend. I mean, it's so weird how they're doing this. I mean, I don't know if any other leagues are even doing this.
Well, the girls are playing 2 games at Georgia State Friday and Saturday. It's probably for saving money because the money revenue is not there like it was last year, and it probably saves from you being around other programs that you may catch COVID from that.
Like the Eastern Division right now, you look at the standings. Coastal Carolina's 1-1, Georgia State's 1-1, App State's 1-1, Georgia Southern's 1-1, South Alabama's 1-1, Troy's 1-1.
I know it.
They're all tied for
So,
first.
that means everybody split last weekend.
Yeah.
Wow.
It is unusual.
I'm having a hard time watching college basketball. It's just it's so sterile. The environment's so sterile. I mean, there are some fans at some arenas, not some at others, and no cheerleaders, no pep bands. It's just completely different.
You know, the most entertaining thing now is the way they've got their floors decorated. Certain teams have different colors in their floors. It's interesting though. You can go at night and just start going through the channels and see these beautiful floors. Troy could use a little touch as far as their floor goes. In my opinion.
Jazz it up a little.
What
bit.
do you think?
I hadn't thought about it, but you're probably right. Yeah.
Well, they've been spreading
But
the bitches
I'm
out.
sure they won't even look at it until next year. But
I wonder if Maestri wants Maestri court instead of court Maestri.
I don't know.
You know, that was something Chancellor Hawkins did. He wanted to do court Maestri instead of Maestri court.
Well, Don Maestri and his career at Troy over 30 years, and I don't consider him an old man. He looks the same as he looked when he first came here. He lives now in Tuscaloosa.
I think he uses a little hair product like Saban.
Yeah, he must. Yeah.
He lives in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, he lives in Tuscaloosa. At least the last time I heard.
His daughter lives there,
Right down the
Julie.
road from me. David Phillips coaches Freeport Hospital.
Yeah, he's double dipping. He's coaching in Florida now, and great coach, great player. Boy, I wish.
I bet Drew's coaching somewhere, isn't he?
Out of all the players that they've had here at Troy, I'd take Carl Hollis and David Felix any day of the week.
Marvin Sales.
And Marvin, he was on that team too, wasn't he?
They sure
And then
all
there was
go
another
South
guy that
Company.
came out of Birmingham, Mac Madison.
Who's McAdoo?
Bob McAdoo.
No, we're talking about the Yakka. They call him Yakadoo. He was Sales.
Is Carl Hollis in the Troy Sports Hall of Fame?
No, it needs to be. He's not in the Hall of Fame, I don't believe.
Is
It
David
definitely deserves to be.
Is David there?
Yeah.
David's there, yeah. David's there as a coach and a player.
Coach and player.
I just moved to Troy, and I think I got to see Carl Hollis play for 1 year, or I don't know. He probably played in the mid '70s, late '70s.
There are a lot
He
of
was a great
basketball
player.
players.
Played for West Bazooka.
I tell you, Ralph Black, was a play-by-play guy, and he got real close and personal with these guys. Another great player was a guy named Mac Madison out of Birmingham, and he was a great player, and that deserves one day to be in the Hall of Fame.
Who was a very good player was Darren Faison.
Yeah, from Troy.
He graduated from my brother Rush in the class of '79 at Charles Henderson, and if they had a three-point shot back then, he would have scored a lot more points because his patented shot was from the corner, and he could shoot it from out there.
Let's mention something. He also had a brother that played
at Troy, a little baby brother.
Playing with the Charles Henderson High
Tim
School,
played.
and
He played for Coach Maestri.
yeah, when I'm in our school system right now, and of course, Carl Hollis, a great man of God. Is a great preacher and a great man, and done so much for a lot of people in Pike County.
You know what Carl's middle name is?
What?
Anybody want to guess?
No, I don't know.
Carl Lee Hollis.
Oh, Carl Lee Hollis, that's right. From downtown Headland.
Headland, Alabama.
No question about it.
His brothers are tall.
The scariest thing about Carl Hollis growing up, he was over alternative school.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what?
Still is.
And if you mentioned when he was over that what do you call the school now? Alternative school. When he was over that, all the teacher would have to say is, Johnny, if you don't straighten up, we're going to send you to see Mr. Hollis. He straightened up in a hurry. He was no nonsense.
He had some really good basketball teams when he was the basketball coach at Charles
no
Henderson,
question. Great man.
I read the other day, Paul Pierce has got a 6'7" kid that's got a wingspan of over 7 foot. Who is this kid?
He's got an unusual name too.
That's a big big guy in high school.
Well, on the 8th, they host Andalusia.
That's going to be a big game, yeah.
And they barely lost last night by about 3 points to who did they play last night? Oh, they lost by 2 or 3 to Greenville last night.
Greenville got a good
It was a close game.
Yeah.
I know they got some good players.
And they got a good coach too.
What happened to the
Douglas
kid from
Brunson.
Brundage that was the MVP of the state tournament? Where did he end up going?
Didn't he
To
go to
junior college?
Stillman?
Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
We'll be hearing from him in a year or two, won't we?
Well, there's also a kid from Charles Henderson that plays for St. John's. How big is that? How big of basketball is that up in
Josh
New York?
Roberts.
Josh Roberts, yeah.
Josh Roberts.
How do we let him get out of here?
I don't. Hey, yesterday I did a COVID test, and it was negative. I wanted to be able to give blood, and I have to show proof that I test negative. And the lady said, "Aren't you a coach?" I said, "I used to be." Her son is Justin Green, who played tight end at Vanderbilt. He's in Washington, D.C., working for NASA
Yeah, isn't that great?
now. And,
Isn't that great to see kids do well?
Justin Green.
Let's put it on hold, if you will. We'll put this on a hold. We'll come back to you. Go ahead and hit that one.
Hit this one?
Yeah, hit that. Let's go ahead and get it. Good morning, y'all. Today in L.A. How you doing?
Let's see this.
Oh, that's Max Howell. That's Max Howell.
All
Good
right.
morning, Max.
Oh, hold on. Conference one.
There you had it. Now you don't have it. Here we go.
Y'all,
That's good.
All right, we got both of you now. Max Howell calling in from somewhere north of Starkville, Mississippi.
How about Fulton, Mississippi?
Fulton, Mississippi, the home of Max Howell. And good morning to you, Max.
Good morning, guys. How y'all this morning?
We're good.
Max, what do you think about Mississippi State in that fight? That was quite an end to a bowl game.
Well, it's not over yet.
What do you mean by that now?
There's going to be some folks dismissed on that foray, I can tell you.
Yeah.
There's some folks really upset with the university and internally over there. And I mean, it'll be quiet for a while, but let's say this, you won't see the same kids on the roster in the fall as you saw in that bowl game.
And you know, the Mississippi State's coach was laid back in that situation as I've ever seen. You would think he would have been right in the middle, taking charge on getting that thing straightened out. But he was over there waiting to be interviewed.
Well, it started. They should have never come out of the locker room looking like that and acting like that. That's where it started.
They all
And
had
who's
their
responsible for
shirts
that?
off in that cold weather. It was just
It's
grotesque.
No discipline on that program, and if you look at his system offensively, there's no discipline in that either. He's going to have an uphill battle, guys. I can promise you that.
I think you're seeing the real coach come out in him, and it's not so good. I'm sure there's some Mississippi State people that are really concerned about their program.
Well,
I promise you, Mike, I talked to a half a dozen over the last few days, and I've not heard one compliment about the way it was handled first. And secondly, some of the big contributors were really vocal about the image that it left. And on top of that, you got Ole Miss going in the other direction.
Well, let me tell you this, Max. They want to. They've got these rules where somebody makes a great hit or a great tackle, and instead of watching a coach pick him up and applaud him for his great hit. He's kicked out of the game and can't play in the second half until the second half of the next game. I mean, and the kid just happened to turn where his helmet hit the other guy's helmet, and they want to call a what do you call it?
Targeting.
Yeah, targeting.
They created the rule because of the concussion situation and the ALS situations in the life. When I was on the air in Birmingham, I had a chance to interview Kevin Turner several times.
Yeah.
The All-American at Alabama that passed away with ALS. And if you've ever been around somebody, watched the deterioration, you'll have a really whole different view about why the rule was changed as it was.
Of course, his son plays for Clemson and was not able to play until the second half because he was charged with a violation.
Mm-hmm. Targeting in the Notre Dame.
They know the rules and they're taught. Sometimes it's going to be inadvertently. You can't help that when you go at full speed. But I do applaud the rule because I came through time when you talk using the head and you use a face mask and you use everything available to you as far as tackling and blocking is concerned. And then the technology took over, and better helmets came along, and there were different aspects of the game changed.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, I had firsthand experience watching these kids deteriorate at a very rapid rate, and then eventually they lose their life.
This coming from Dad, that's probably had about 10 concussions, and Frank Sadler puts you right back in the game, Dad.
I know it.
Frank Sadler, you don't remember that?
I saw stars many times. I'll say that because we were taught then to hit with our heads. Max Howell is our guest, ladies and gentlemen, one of the leading sports analysts in the country, and lots going on, Max. But we need to go to a break right here. We'll bring you right back in just a moment. We'll be back to more of Today in LA in just a moment.
Trojan Auto Parts of Troy, home of Napa Know-How. Stop by and see owners Mike and Melissa Kilcrease and their Napa Know-How team with over 100 years of combined experience. We're the only locally owned parts store in Pike County, and we're fully stocked and ready to serve you. We pride ourselves on being your go-to parts store, not only for the simple items, but we specialize in those hard-to-find items as well. Trojan Auto Parts, the right part at the right price at the right time. Napa, a name you've trusted here in Troy since 1945.
At the Piggly Wiggly, we proudly support our local farmers and bring you the best they have to offer, all at cost plus 10%. When you shop local, you reinvest in your community. Remember, buy local, shop local. Piggly Wiggly, local since forever.
Our history is woven with the stories of those we serve. At Max, we've been a good community partner for 65 years. Max is dedicated to providing dependable financial services and to supporting our communities. We volunteer our time and share our resources. As a credit union, we've returned millions of dollars back to our members, local nonprofits, and small businesses. Max is honored to be a part of your story. We look forward to serving you for years to come.
Hi, Sandy. I'm right here. Come on in.
Daddy, I'm right here. Hello, Miss Mary. I'm right here. Right here.
Since 1969, we've been right here because at Troy Regional Medical Center, we take these words to heart.
I'm right here. Thank you.
Remarkable people, remarkable care.
Yeah.
Oh, he'd be a good coach. Huh?
Back to our show, ladies and gentlemen. The Three Musketeers are on the line. The big guy in the middle, ladies and gentlemen, is Big Bill Rice Jr., and of course, his daddy was 6'6" and weighed 249. Of course, he was the son of a legend, and of course, Forrest Lee, our good friend and former coach, and is one of the fine young men on our show. And of course, also Mike Amos is calling in from Grayton Beach, Florida, on Zoom, and it's good to see him. And Max Howell.
I'm not on Zoom. The ratings have gone down tremendously. I don't know.
That's right. They want to see that pretty face. That's right.
The Heisman Trophy ceremony was all on Zoom.
Well, and of course, it's sad the way they have to do it now, but I thought it was well done. You know, when I hear that cough, I go grab for my mask.
I turn my head.
Ladies and gentlemen, this mask is no funny deal. Let me just say this: wear your mask when you're outside the premises of your home. Wear your mask. If you're
And I know now every time you talk, you cough, you just feel guilty.
Well,
sometimes you just can't help it. You got to cough. You got to cough.
Well, I bet you. Do you even have a mask?
I got one two in the car.
Okay.
Mac, you think we're going to be able to
play
play
you next time
Monday?
You come. What now?
I was just asking Matt, do you think we're going to play Monday?
What do you think, Max?
Look, in my opinion, it's just an opinion. After the hit that Justin Fields took, they can't win the game without him. And I'm a conspiracy theorist, I guess, when it comes to this thing. I know for a fact there were some teams this year using the virus to either postpone or cancel a ball game because they want to become. And I'm not sure that Ohio State's not in that same situation. But watch that hit. That kid had broken ribs, but the kid on the short ribs in the back. And that, if you've ever had that before, and unfortunately I did, you can't breathe for 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, if they try to play with him, Alabama will take full advantage of that, and I don't think Ohio State will have a chance without Justin Fields playing quarterback.
Oh yeah, but to me,
Alabama needs to put their 4th-string linebacker in on a series and just blitz him.
That's right.
Hit him in the ribs again.
You know what? You're gonna start seeing that the way they do this thing. You're gonna start seeing these kamikaze guys. He's on the kamikaze team, and he's gonna go with his head first.
Hey, I'll talk about this forever, Max. When Alabama got beat by Clemson on that last play on the goal line, how in the world did Alabama's defense coordinator Saban not say, tackle the guys? If you tackle him, at worst, they kick a field goal, we go to overtime. I still can't believe that. How you let a guy get open for a kick play? But, I mean, they should have been holding the receivers, making those calls.
And I know the heat of the moment, you got all kind of excuses for it. But if you're fortunate enough, I coach that position at that level. There are certain things you just you're gonna get beat, grab him or tackle him. It doesn't matter. Don't let him run free in the end zone. And that was obviously a pick. And of course, beyond that though, Michael, Alabama's used that in open field. That's the way Devontae Smith, one of the reasons he got the Heisman last night, is because he ran free, particularly when Waller was out there, and they did the crossing situation. All it was a delayed pick. It's what it was. That's what freed him up. Yeah. So they took that to the advantage to get them where they are today, I think.
I want to get this information out to people. The funeral services for Miss Glenda Locklear will be this Friday, January the 8th, from Dillard Funeral Home on the Highway 231 in Troy. The visitation is at 11 o'clock, beginning at 10 o'clock, and then, of course, the funeral will be at 11 o'clock. And, of course, the graveside services will follow at Green Hills Funeral Home. And a great lady, a grand lady. You remember Wiley Locklear, I'm sure, Max, his wife, wonderful wife, and beautiful lady, Glenda Locklear, is one of the...
they were some of the great all-time fans of Troy University athletics. They just supported them for decades.
He worked for years for Henderson Black Green, and no telling how many players he hired to work during the summers. I mean, it wasn't easy work either. Some of the great players in Troy history worked for Wiley Locklear at Henderson Black Green.
Yep.
I remember that. Yes, I do.
Of course, Max Howell's our guest, and of course has made a name for himself not only as a football coach but as an analyst. And I noticed that you talked to Wimp Sanderson and those guys. Do they want to talk football or do they want to talk basketball?
Oh man, they don't do anything for football year round. They touch on basketball, but they know whether they know where their money's made. I'll be honest with you, they couldn't sell enough ads to support Ian Barrett on basketball talk.
Well, let me just tell you, there was a show last night on recruiting, and let me tell you, when they started talking about negative recruiting, you know who they had some footage on? Your favorite guy. Hugh Freeze. Yeah, oh yeah, had about a 3 or 4 minute segment on Hugh Freeze and how he knowingly recruited, the way he recruited. And
well, they signed the Treadwell kid, the big wide receiver from Illinois. They signed him, and that kid never came to campus.
Yeah. See, that's how he got caught. He was. People were wondering how in the world Mississippi State had 4 or 5 5-star players. Ole Miss, and where was Ole Miss and getting these players?
Well, they had the Kim Deacon kid out of Georgia, and his Houston coach was Mccarron, that played at Alabama on the national championship in '92. I mean, how in the world did he not go to Alabama?
Yeah. But what I'm saying, it was so obvious that they were these 5-stars were going to Ole Miss instead of Alabama, and somebody looked into it and they found out why.
Coach, who's the odds-on favorite to be the
That was
offensive
years ago
coordinator
now.
at Alabama?
Everybody wants to talk about Ole Miss beating Alabama those 2 years. Well, with the team that they had bought, any of us could have coached them.
Yeah.
Beat anybody. I mean, they had 3 or 4 first-rounders, NFL picks out of that group. And, they hadn't done that since. And, hadn't done it before, hadn't done it since.
Of course, another rich coach, gets rewarded for being a football coach. The Texas coach I think his buyout was $15 million. Bless his heart, and he doesn't have to hit a lick at a snake the rest of his life if he don't want to. And Max, if you don't win, hey, the great thing about college football, if you don't win, you get rich.
The only industry in America that you get fired for a poor job, you never have to work again.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's really like hitting the lottery when you get these contracts.
It is.
It's bigger. I mean, how many, like Malzahn got $22 million? How many people that win the lottery get $22 million? Not many.
And if I'm the
it's all the university's fault, because they'll award that, but go back to who built the contract. The coach don't build a contract. The agents do that.
And your new head coach at Auburn, the first thing he noticed when he walked through the door was that his defense coordinator was making more than he was. You know what I mean? He'd be the first one I'd get.
$1.8 million to $2.5 million.
He'd be the first coach I'd get, because just think how many good coaches they could hire for that kind of money. They could hire 3 or 4 real good coaches. For that kind of money they paying that one coach.
I tell you, that's great coaches that would come coach at Auburn for $300,000 a year.
And Max, did it surprise you of how?
Steve Sarkisian's contract, 6 years, $34.2 million, beginning at $5.2 million a year. It's gonna be rising every year, $200,000 each year. He's there, so that's not that bad. $5.2 million. I figure Texas is paying more than that.
Texas is one of the rich schools. When you say Max,
he riches.
Well, their gross income last year was $156 million in a down year. Yeah. I think the closest in the country was Alabama next at like 90.
Yeah.
So that's $60 million difference in a down year.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. Texas got more gross income than anybody else in the country.
They have their own. They have their own TV network.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you this, it's a lot going on in recruiting and so forth. Of course, the next recruiting round is in February, which is a pretty good ways off. Most of the people that were real serious about recruiting went ahead and signed a bunch of people early, wouldn't you say, Max?
No, I don't think there's any doubt. I think, I know over here, Mike Leach, we've got 15 or 16 kids. You go back and look at Lane Kiffin, he signed 23 and 16 up all already on campus.
Yeah.
And he put a lot of emphasis on wide receivers, obviously going to throw it. But he also brought in about 8 defensive linemen, something Ole Miss had done in years. So I think he's the right guy for that job temporarily. He'll be there probably 2 or 3 years, and he'll be moving over as well.
You talking about Mississippi State or Ole Miss?
Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Ole Miss.
You know, everybody thinks that the Mississippi State coach is a guru offensively, but right now I think Ole Miss, they came out of the bowl game looking pretty good, didn't you think?
Well, they really did. Well, the Auburn coach has already offered the offensive coordinator a contract with him, and I think he turned it down. Ole Miss came back and up to a little bit. I don't know. I haven't seen the numbers yet. But see, Mississippi, you can't go beyond a 4-year contract. Now, they offer Kiffin a rollover every year to keep it at 4 years.
Yeah.
And I think he's maybe at 3.8 or something like that. But I think, I think they got the right staff over there right now, and I think they're doing it right. And he's gained a lot of support, particularly with the big win over Indiana.
Well, he plays the game fast, real fast, and he's really been impressive play calling and so forth. I thought Auburn would go after him. I thought he would give Auburn that big name and the kind of guy that would stand out in the crowd. And
I think it's too much internal politics at Auburn right now.
It really is. Do you know why did they make the move, and when and why did they wait till later on in the season to make that move?
Well, it just took them a while to get the money together. That $21 million was written by two guys.
Really?
Checks, and they didn't want no. Gus wanted half of it in 30 days and the rest over 3 years. They said, "You're out." They wrote him a check right there. The two guys making contributions.
Not only did he become a very rich man, he did it on his terms. Did you notice that? Not only did he get fired, he got fired on his terms.
He did. Well, look, guys, go back and look at that recruiting class and where it's ranked. To me, that's a disgrace.
As we looked at it, we were talking about 59. One class had Auburn 59th overall. That's how he got fired. Don't you agree?
That just didn't happen, guys. That's a year's worth of work. That means they didn't work. Because what 59 to get you fired? That means there's not a kid on that recruiting roster that can play in the SEC at the championship level. And if they're all 3-stars. Yeah, I mean, if Auburn doesn't have that in their recruiting efforts, then they're gonna get what they got. They don't have a team sitting over there right there that can compete for a championship.
Okay, of course, I want to mention my good friend Big Buck Dees. Alvin Dees is ill and in the hospital, and I hope and our prayers and our thoughts go out to one of the all-time greats. Didn't you love coaching Alvin Dees?
You didn't have to tell him but one time. He was a smart kid, and he worked hard. And, a lot of kids we had were more physical than Alvin was, but nobody made few mistakes that he did.
Exactly right. Of course,
Alabama line is now going up to 8.5. I think if they on Monday night, you're going to see that around 10 at kids. Money line at minus 288. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens these next few days if the COVID issues continue. I know Ohio State had to shut down basketball for the next week as well. So I wouldn't be surprised we hear something come out official the next couple of days, canceling the game.
Well, they've already established
postponing.
Michael, they've already established a secondary date for the 18th.
I know.
Yesterday.
what would that be, a week later or what?
Yes.
Yeah, that would be absolutely awful. That'd be awful news for Alabama. Alabama, you want to play this game Monday night.
Well, I'll tell you what, if that line keeps going up, I would jump all over Ohio State. Ohio State was impressive. I could not see a weak link in their program. What do you think, Max?
Well, it'd be the best team Alabama.
Did you see how big their front on defense was? As good as Alabama's offensive line is, they'd have a hard time moving that Ohio State line.
I'd be interested to see how they try to defend the deep ball. I had a couple of conversations yesterday with some defensive folks, and I got some ideas on what they're going to probably do. They're going to try to get Matt Jones out of the pocket. They're going to probably bring 6 or 8. But if you notice, That was why Clemson tried to run the football with a quarterback, but they couldn't block him. They were in the backfield most of the night. I think Trevor Lawrence had 8 attempts in that ball game, and I hadn't seen him run the football at that level anytime.
Max, they were talking last night. I watched a lot of football last night on what happened. The question was what happened to Clemson. They were out of the first. They said the first 9 offensive or defensive plays that their defense played, they were completely out of position. One of them led to about a 40-yard touchdown, and the guy wasn't even touched. But the first 9 defensive setups, every one of them they had players out of position.
Well, I think Dabo, got a little full of himself and got a little full of Clemson, and I don't know how hard they work, but I don't think Alabama's got to worry about that.
Yeah. Something, I'm going to say something, Max, and they gave me, I shouldn't say they gave me hell about it. Who would you, if you had a choice on 2 coaches, Jimbo Fisher or Dabo Swinney, which one would you take?
I'm going to say, first of all, it depends on where I am. If I'm at Texas A&M, I'm going to take, because they got more financial resources than anybody else in the country, including Texas. So, that's a good point, because Dabo's won more than Jimbo has.
But both of them won national championships, though.
Well, they recruited extremely well. And then you got to look where Dabo plays in the ACC.
Yeah, that's right.
Weekly schedule is the SEC is. So, if you're looking for success, then you take the Clemson guy.
Yeah.
That's why I really would doubt if he'd ever leave Clemson. That's like Alabama.
Exactly. But of course, it was not. It was very unusual to see Clemson knocked around like they did, and let's just say this: Ohio State had a mad on, but I'm afraid their only problem is now Alabama and the rest of the world know how good they are, and they're going to have to adjust to them.
The best thing that happened is Ohio State put on that display in the semifinals, and Alabama got to see it. So they got Alabama's full attention with that performance. I think Alabama overlooked and didn't take Ohio State seriously enough in 2014. That was a hungry Ohio State team, and I just had a sense going into that game that Ohio State wanted it more. Their fans were hungrier, and Ohio State kind of controlled that game. Alabama made it close. And I hope Alabama remembers that game. Last time they played Ohio State, what happened?
The key is...
Every time I watched Justin Fields, especially when he played the game of his life against Clemson, how bad does that still make Kirby Smart look?
Well, you're right. Go back and look at his history over there. Go back and talk about Jake Fromm. How impressed were you with Jake Fromm? From the time he came back, he left in the 3rd year. I didn't see him get any better. And in the 3rd year, he was worse. And what about the kid that was going to leave Wake Forest to be the safety?
Oh, yeah, he was supposed to be the real deal,
Yeah, and then how long did it take to decide J.T. Daniels was going to be the quarterback? It's just something else internally on his evaluation.
Yeah. In fact, I think the kid that transferred from Wake Forest would have probably beat this guy out that's playing quarterback now, because this guy was 6'6", weighed about 240, and could throw it as well as anybody.
And JT's coming back next year.
The indicator, guys, when the quarterback comes off the field, you go look at Matt Jones, you look at any other quarterback with a system where they have a good offensive coordinator, that kid goes straight to the coordinator and or put the headsets on and talk to him in the booth. And at Georgia, he goes straight to Kirby Smart. Yeah. So that tells you right there, just a little indicator of what goes on over there. That Kirby doesn't let anybody do anything until he talks to the player. And obviously we see what the end result was.
My issue next year with Alabama is would they have been better off with Tallulah come below us than Bryce Young? the road.
A long way to go. I'm going to say if
I do too, yeah.
I mean, Bryce Young can't win a football game right now. I'll tell you that right now.
Max, do you think Mac Jones is going to go in the draft, or you think he'll hold off for another year?
Oh, he's a good player.
I don't know.
I still don't. Everybody thinks I'm crazy. I don't think he's a bona fide pro prospect. I really don't.
Oh my God, Dad, he's like number 32.
But everything play action, you don't get that kind of play action in the pros. Is that right, Max?
Mike, let me tell you, he's already got 2 degrees.
Yeah, I know that. I know that.
So, you know what? I mean,
What?
I don't think it matters to him. Okay?
Yeah. I mean, he's a great college quarterback, and I'm sure would go in the 3rd or 4th round. I don't think he's a 1st or 2nd round guy.
He's 2nd round at worst right now, Dad.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
Bill
he's a great
Belichick.
player. He's a great player, but Max is different in the pros. You don't see a lot of play action in the pros, do you?
Well, you know, excuse me, Mike, it depends on where you go. You know,
Yeah.
the smart coaches are going to take those kids in that 1st, 2nd round and adjust a little bit to what they do best. Look, you got to understand that that's a business up there. It ain't got nothing to do with you know, all the emotions that the college game gets in it. Those guys just come out of there, they're smooth and 24/7 on the football program. And I'd be interested to say, I don't really have a feeling of what he's going to do right now.
Well,
In my opinion, he should have won the Heisman.
Yeah, well, he's a wonderful player, and there's no question about if he's going to go, he ought to go maybe this year. But
his recruiting story, he was signed at Alabama to be a scout team quarterback. Alabama had 3 5-stars already on the roster when he came, and he worked himself right up to be, in my opinion, the number 1 quarterback in the country.
Yeah.
He doesn't make mistakes. He works tirelessly. If you tell him something one time, you better tell him right, because he doesn't forget. He went through 2 degrees at Alabama and never made a beat. He was a 4.0 student.
he's an impressive guy, and I reckon if he's going to go in the pros, he would. He's got the numbers that would be very impressive. But for some reason, I don't know why I feel that way. He just.
Well, I mean, we look at it this way. We talked about it the other day. I mean, and Bill and Forrest can comment as well. But do you think he was better than A.J. McCarron in college?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. A.J. was pretty good. Had a pretty girlfriend. But this guy does not seem to be a real physical guy. Does this guy, Mac Jones, who is the most physical, A.J. McCarron or Mac Jones? Who would you think would be the most physical player?
Probably Mac.
Neither one of them.
That is a quarterback.
You don't think it does?
I mean, who is the better college quarterback, though?
Mac Jones.
Oh, yeah, Mac Jones with what he did this year, no question,
I
yeah.
know, but McCarron for 3 years as a starter, though. I mean, he was pretty. I mean, great quarterback in college. He's not a great pro quarterback.
McCarron was the runner-up for the Heisman. You know, Alabama's won 3 Heisman trophies, but they've also had 2 players that were runner-up, Tua and McCarron, and Amari Cooper was 3rd, and the running back from Pensacola was 3rd.
Yeah.
So,
Wasn't Jay Barker 2nd or 3rd?
yeah, I think he was like 3rd.
Want to mention that Yeti Kula is up for grabs. We're going to predict tomorrow on our show. We're going to come up with everybody's idea on who's going to win the game on Monday. It's a beautiful Yeti Kula. Compliments of you-know-who. Jason Gregory at Premier Dodge Chrysler Jeep and Ram Trucks on the bypass, where they've got a giant sale going on right now. They're selling cars like you'll never see again in this part of the country. They've got rocket savings like you won't believe. And remember, nobody beats a Premier deal, nobody. Want to say hello to my friends at the Withington Group. Johnny Withington's been in the insurance business a long time, and we appreciate him so much. Max Howell is our guest. I don't know why I feel that way about Mac Jones. He's a great college quarterback, but he just doesn't seem to be real physical for some reason.
He's cerebral, and he makes quick decisions, and he's poised in the pocket, and those are the intangibles that make a great quarterback, I think.
But he looks like a school kid.
And he can throw it.
He's got the smile of a high school junior.
He's accurate when he throws it. He can throw the deep ball very well. he's got the quarterbacks. He's just got the it factor. I mean, you look at Tom Brady. He ran about a 5.440 when he was in the combine coming out of college, and but he knows how to quickly decipher a defense and make quick decisions, and he's a leader.
Max, give us your feeling about the game with Alabama and, for the national championship.
Well, first of all, Ohio State doesn't have a chance if they have to get Justin Fields. Their offense will not click without him, and nobody knows who the number 2 quarterback is. So I will say Justin Fields comes into that halfway well and not completely well. If they don't play on the 18th, then I think Alabama wins the ball game. But I think Alabama lines it up and comes after the 6 or 7 guys.
The key, though, Alabama's got to be able to run the football, though, don't you think? They've got to be able to run the football with Najee Harris.
When have they not been able to run the football?
I know, but this is a new sheriff in town, Mike.
In the second half against Notre Dame, they didn't run it very well.
And Notre Dame front beat them in the second half.
He was run plays right up the gut. He wasn't even running off tackle. I mean,
yeah.
He was taking the Texas job. In his mind,
I think we're holding our cards to our chest.
Guys.
He could care less about it. He was just ready to get that game over with. And then you got the distraction if they play on the 18th. The Sarkeesian didn't stay around another week.
Yeah, I know it. You're right. He probably told Nick, he said, I'll give you a week, and that's it. What do your buddies up on the river think? That's what I want to find out. Who do they like, Max?
Well, all these guys over here go for Alabama because they all SEC guys.
Yeah.
Yes. Good thing about where I live over here, they it's 18 from Michigan to the conference. They're all SEC people. They go pull for the Southeastern Conference, and they're pretty astute. They all loggers and but they understand what college football is all about as well. So they pull for Alabama, but they want Alabama to win. Yeah. And, they all got their reasons why. They'll have a little fight over, just like they do or any other opportunity they have. They'll put $5 in the pot, and they'll pick scores and first downs and all the entertainment allows them to do.
No question about it.
I got about 12 guys I'll be cooking for.
I really believe in branding. It's important to brand your program. That's why Alabama recruits so well. They've got this brand. Have anybody counted up the number of promos that ESPN is running to promote this game? It seems like they're every 2 minutes, and ESPN has about, 5 channels, and they're doing it on all 5 channels. So it seems to me that Alabama is getting a 15 or 30-second blurb every 2 minutes on ESPN on 5 channels. If you count up the mentions that Alabama will get before this game, it's going to be in the tens of thousands of free advertising. So that's the importance of getting to the national championship game.
I say one word, and we're going to predict these tomorrow. What is your feeling? What is your prediction, Max?
You mean on score-wise?
Yeah, what do you think? I know Alabama's got to be able to run the football.
I think Alabama wins the ball game. I've said all along, Michael, they can't turn it over. They got to have great special teams. They can't throw a pick or lay it on the ground. They're going to have to play their best football game. This is the best team they've seen.
Yeah.
They're going to do, but I think they're going to be prepared. I think they understand that. And I think Coach Saban and his staff do as good a job, or will have done as good a job as you can in preparation.
Whoever can be balanced is very important too. I would think, like Ohio State was so balanced against Clemson, they got to be balanced against. They got to be able to run and throw the football to beat Alabama, don't you think?
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt. But it does defensively as they do offensively to try to put them in the field.
What do you think about? I want to ask you, Max. I think emotion plays a large part in college football, and and psychologically, whether you get burned out and I'm really getting to how many games can you get up for and play at your peak in a season. I'm looking at Alabama. They had a huge game against Auburn, emotional game, payback game from last year. Remember, Then they go to LSU, another payback game, which Alabama played lights out. Then they turn around and they got to play in the SEC championship game, which was the closest game yet. Then they play in the semifinal game. So at some point, do you risk that you're just not going to have your tank full emotionally? I remember when Alabama got blown out by Clemson a couple years ago. Coach Saban and some other people said that Alabama was just tired. They could actually chart it. You know, they monitor these players with all these devices. And they said that the players were literally not running as fast at the end of the year going into that game as they had all year.
But if their adrenaline cannot be flowing for this game, they ought not even play.
They've already had to play 5 more games at Ohio State. How unfair is that?
Ohio State's fresher, in other words.
Exactly right. They are fresher, no question. They're hungry, and nobody gives them any respect, and that's where it goes. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate, Max, you coming on our show each week and giving your ideas about things going on. Of course, this is a tough time to play football because you don't know how many players you're going to have that's going to be able to dress next Monday.
Very true. Like I say, I'm more anxious to see how they. I know the SEC wants to play. They've kind of lived the country as far as playing week in and week out. And there's been some other teams, and Ohio State's been one of them that plays without a full complement of players. I think Alabama's doing as good a job as anybody keeping the kids in the bubble and keeping them, aware of what goes on physically for them. But back on the emotion thing, I know we're getting close to the end, but let me say, guys, those games are won Monday through Friday. The fatigue factor, mentally or physically, is handled here in the week. The end result is what you see on Saturday. So, Coach Saban know that. They know as well as anybody how to get them up, when to back off, and when they keep them late on the field. They don't use a 20-hour work week concept. And if school's out, there is no 20-hour work week. So you can keep them out there as long as you want to. But the smart coaches are going to analyze that with the medical staff now. Alabama does as good a job as anybody in the country.
Well, I tell you, it's going to be a great game, no question about it. And the billing is unreal. You know who the winner is here? ESPN. They're still getting their money, through advertisement.
Well, it's Alabama and Ohio State getting all that free advertising.
Wouldn't you say that ESPN's having a better year as far as advertising?
They need to. They're on the verge of bankruptcy.
Are they really? I didn't know that.
Oh my God!
Yeah, they laid off like 500.
I know, but they signed a contract. What was the contract? $300 million.
The difference is, remember who backs that up? That's Disney Corporation.
Yeah, I got you.
ESPN.
Yeah.
So they get tired of writing those checks out of the Disney world to cover some college football game.
Yeah.
So it's an internal. That's the corporate world that we live in today. And they've worked long and hard to get to that level, and that's all to them. I hope they stay around a while.
Yeah, no
well, they want to boost those ad rates and have huge ratings. They're going to have huge ratings for this game. I mean, you got an SEC powerhouse against a Big Ten powerhouse, South versus North. This is the game they would really much rather have Alabama, Ohio State than Alabama Clemson again.
Quickly, Max, the other major thing that's happening is that you take a guy like Mac Jones, who's a redshirt junior, is that right?
4 years.
He could have 2 more years at Alabama. He could play 2 more years at Alabama. But this new rule, you take the kid from Prattville, of course his dad was the great one at Alabama. He'll get to have another year. He was a senior coming into this year, and now he can play another year.
Nolan Turner?
Nolan Turner.
He could, that's right. Or they say he's a pro prospect, but
he played at Vestavia Hills. His dad played.
Yeah, I know, that's right. But again, though, what it is, Max, I've never seen anything like it. You got a recruiting class, and then you got the class that were freshmen the year before can play another year.
And you got all these transfers, so you're right.
Well, guys, if you watch the numbers, though, those kids that were marginal, they're not going to come back for another year if they don't have a distance to the NFL. the older ones will come back. The
Yeah.
ones that think they can improve themselves. Or the ones that are having trouble academically and need another year to graduate. That'll be the ones that will come back. I don't look at that to be a big deal. NCAA's already agreed that they can expand their roster for 1 year. So, I'll be anxious to see how it works out. I hadn't noticed any change in the recruiting process. They still going after the top 45, and they're supposed to do about 22 or 23, and they try to get them in January.
Yeah.
I think Alabama's already signed. Michael, help me out. Haven't they already signed 25?
26 now.
Yeah. Okay.
They've won over the limits. I don't know how that.
So they went ahead and got them early. Last year they didn't get them that early. Isn't that right?
They're going to have at least 10 guys go early to the draft, probably.
I know, but that's still. I don't think that affects how many you can sign. That's the rule. You can only sign 20. It doesn't change that you can sign 30 if you lose X players. You can only sign 25.
You get those mystery.
Excuse me. Yeah.
Well, they do that school by school. They don't have a blanket rule yet.
Okay, Max, so we appreciate you very much. And, of course, I know you're going to be cooking. What is going to be the main ingredient for Monday night?
Look, this is the last one of the year, so we do it staged there. We do ribeye loin and have to cut about 1 inch and a half. And we'll marinate those sometime after lunch on Monday. And we'll have all the great sides. I mean, the women will outdo themselves. And basically, what we've seen up to now,
Excuse me.
The women right now, not only do the side, but they're going to have a whole dessert tray. And their dessert tray will start with a Mississippi mud pie. It'll go from there down to the blackberry.
You're making us hungry, man. You're making us hungry.
And they'll bring it out of that oven, guys. They'll put homemade vanilla ice cream in it. We'll be wanting to take a nap when they get through.
Okay. Well, look, stay in touch with us. We'll see you next week. And, again, we appreciate you so very much. And, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you for watching our show on Facebook, live on Facebook across the country. Tomorrow we're going to make our predictions on the big game. And somebody here is going to win a Yeti cooler. Compliments of our good friends at Premier Dodge Chrysler Jeep.
I want to make one more comment. I want to say happy 5th birthday to Jackson Mason Rice.
Remember that name, Jackson Mason Rice. Have a good one. We'll see you tomorrow.
At the Piggly Wiggly, we proudly support our local farmers and bring you the best they have to offer, all at cost plus 10%. When you shop local, you reinvest in your community. Remember, buy local, shop local. Piggly Wiggly, local since forever.
Our history is woven with the stories of those we serve. At Max, we've been a good community partner for 65 years. Max is dedicated to providing dependable financial services and to supporting our communities. We volunteer our time and share our resources. As a credit union, we've returned millions of dollars back to our members, local nonprofits, and small businesses. Max is honored to be a part of your story.